let me just say congratulations to you guys for standing up, not just for guns, but for liberty. And that seems to be a big misconception. And I want to thank you for the work that you're doing, because you were out front. And this is an exciting time to be a Democrat, very exciting. To think that even Texas is in play, you know, is really a moving experience. So to be here and be with all you good Democrats, I thank you. I also want you to know I did run against Rick Noriega, but now I am behind him, 1,000 support, 1,000%, and I would hope that we are unified as Democrats at the top of the ticket and all the way down. Of course, Rick will be our top person on the ticket in Texas, so we're going to need to support him 100%.
And I'm here representing Rick Noriega.
And I'm sure he's going to be coming in, I think, and probably with you in a little bit also. I just want you to know my passion for this issue on the Second Amendment runs deep. I am a U.S. history teacher. That's what I do. I teach history 1301 and 1302, and the more you learn about the experiences, the struggles, the celebrations, and the achievements of this country, there's no way you can turn your back on the Second Amendment. And also my own family history. My daughter, my wife's back here. Our daughter will be in Daughters of the American Revolution, Daughters of the Texas Republic, and we're very proud of that. But why is this issue so important? Well, first of all, as you know, it is a constitutional issue. It does deal with the Constitution, but we as Democrats can no longer cherry pick which part of the Bill of Rights we are going to support. All right, we are going to have to be honest, and you know, the Bill of Rights is not a buffet. We can't go through the Bill of Rights and pick and choose which ones we're for and which ones we're not for. And this is a huge, I think the Democrats can make a lot of gain here. We are not stepping up to the plate. We're not using this to our full advantage, because we can't really criticize Bush for in the Patriot Act and the violation of search and seizure if we're not going to defend and protect and promote the Second Amendment as well. We have to be for all of the Bill of Rights. And if the Democrats would get behind the entire Bill of Rights, we could use that to our own political advantage, and because we'd also be on the right side of history and intellectual honesty in terms of what the Second Amendment represents. But I will say that the First and Second Amendment go hand in hand. Why do you think the First Amendment was put first? Because our rights to the press, to speech, those are our essential fundamental liberties. And it's not ironic that the very next amendment they put on there was the right to keep and bear arms. Because they knew that if you cherish these liberties, there was only one way for you to continue to promote and protect those, and that is with the Second Amendment. I just want to mention real quick, whether it's John Locke or Thomas Jefferson, these were the intellectual philosophers and the heroes that went into our ideas of who we are as Americans. And whether it was Locke and natural rights, or Jefferson and his inalienable rights. They both went hand in hand. Actually, Jefferson probably plagiarized Locke a little bit. Locke said we were all born with the right to life, liberty, and what? No, property. Really, about 80 years before Jefferson, Locke was already writing, because you're a human being, when you're brought into this world, you have a right to life, liberty, and property. Jefferson said a little bit later, you're also born with this inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we each are guaranteed those things.
Yeah.
Government can't give those to us. They're naturally ours. These were natural rights. They belong to us. And the government cannot infringe upon these things. They are ours. Okay, the government cannot infringe upon these. And whether it is tyranny from monarchy or tyranny from a republic that's gone astray, in the end, whose responsibility is it to step up and protect those liberties? It is the individuals. Okay, it is ours to do that. And that is the essential liberty, is the right to self-defense and the right to protect those freedoms and liberties that you were given. And so Democrats must be adamant. We cannot deny, all right, folks, especially law-abiding folks, law-abiding citizens, the right to bear and keep arms. And with the level of technology that society possesses, we can't give someone the right to self-defense and then say, well, we're not going to equip you with the same level of technology that the rest of society has. Because I can't give you the right to do something and then take away the tools to do it. All right, that is intellectually dishonest. I just also want to say that there are two parts to the Second Amendment, and many of it is under attack because many are just trying to cling to the militia aspect of the Second Amendment, that it applies to the state militia and not to the individuals. And let's be very clear about this. All right, today, what is your state militia? What's the equivalent to that? The National Guard. And that is an extension of the federal government. And if we're really honest and go back and look at our history, the militia was a collective action of free men. And actually, the militia did not issue you a gun because you were expected to what? Bring your own. You were expected to have one. All right, that was yeah, you're right. Okay, we have made a lot of progress in terms of race relations in this party. Look at who we've just nominated. All right, there's no doubt about that. And let's be honest, the Democratic Party, even though we're not, to me, we've got a lot of work to do on the Second Amendment, but when it comes to education, labor, trade, we're right. on most issues, and that's why we're all Democrats. And we've made a lot of progress. If you look at history, we were on the wrong side of history, of race, for a long time, and now we're stepping up to the plate. We do the same thing with guns rights and gun ownership. But we need to be forceful as Democrats. Be proud. This is about liberty. This is about the right to self-defense. And we need to step up and say it doesn't just apply to militias. It also applies to who? Individuals as well. In the nuclear age, in the era of the modern army, can an armed citizenry be effective? And that's another argument that they want to use against the Second Amendment, is that now the Second Amendment is obsolete. Maybe that was good for a day, that day is gone, and that an armed citizenry can no longer be effective. But you then undermine what was the essential part of the Second Amendment, which was that we all had that inherent obligation to step up and protect all of your rights. That it can't happen. Even today, if you look at Somalia, if you look at Chechnya, if you look at Bosnia-Herzegovina, if you look even at Afghanistan, an armed citizenry can be effective against a modern state. Okay, and that just is a reality, and we have to continue with the validity of that argument. We have to have a continued validity that an armed populace is a check on the modern state, and that's crucial to our success. Also, do we have to have reasonable expectations about compromise? I think we do. We as Democrats, okay, we don't want to alienate our position on the Second Amendment. We're going to be far more effective. We're going to be far more politically effective with the art of compromise. And let's be honest, there has always been a controversy of the rights of the individual versus the rights of who? Society. What are the rights of the individual and what are the rights of society? And certainly we know there's a deep inherent right as an individual to protect our liberty. All right, and that is there guaranteed in the Second Amendment. But there are also some rights of society. And I think that we have to acknowledge that we are a violent society. The gun industry in certain ways could be manipulated to the advantage of criminal elements. And we need to be not be willing to undermine the integrity of the Second Amendment, fight for those things immensely. But we also have to be willing to reach across the aisle and say, where are there areas where we can look after the public interest in terms of what is the safety of society without surrendering the integrity of the Second Amendment. And I think instant background checks is an example of that. All right, we're not denying anyone the right to have this firearm. We're not taking that right away. But we're saying in this particular case, we may delay it a little bit simply for whose interest? The public's interest, society's interest. So, and it shows that we're willing to what? Compromise a little bit. And I think in the long run, that takes us a long way. But I want us to be consistent as Democrats. That's kind of the main thing I wanted to get across, is we need to be consistent and take the entire Bill of Rights. And I think that we're much more effective when we do that. But I want to thank you again for your work, because it is you guys. You are the political leaders in the Democratic Party that are standing up for your essential right to self-defense, and I thank you for that. I think Democrats can win with that argument, and I want you to again support we want to unify as Democrats. The one thing that comes out of this convention is that we need to elect Democrats this year. We understand the need for change. We understand that Rick Noriega is at the top of our ticket, and I want us to get behind him 100%. Please go back to your local communities and get involved in Rick Noriega's campaign. Do everything you can to get his name out there as well. But thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and have a great weekend.